Okay, class, now that you read over how to solve a two-step word problem, let's look at some examples together. I'm going to do numbers 1 through 4 with you. We're going to talk about how we can solve these problems. Okay, so number 1, Victor had a collection of 209 red pencils. Make sure you are doing exactly what I'm doing. So he had a collection of 209 red pencils and 187 blue pencils. He gave, I'm going to actually put a box around that word because it's going to be important when it comes time to solve the problem. He gave his brother 38 of his pencils. How many pencils does Victor have left? Okay, so how many left? All right, so step number 1 is to just read and visualize the word problem, okay? Visualize those pencils. Visualize this kid named Victor that has all these red and blue pencils. Visualize him actually giving away some of his pencils to his brother, okay? The next thing you want to do is ask yourself, what 2 questions is the word problem asking? We already know one of the questions, and one of the questions is how many pencils does Victor have left? But the other question we need to know and we need to answer is how many pencils did Victor start with? So before we can figure out how many he has left, we have to figure out how many he started with. So then we want to decide what 2 operations we're going to use. Are we going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Well, for the first step, so I'm going to write step 1. Okay, for step 1, I need to know how many total pencils Victor started with. How many total pencils are in his collection? And in order to find the total, I'm going to have to add. So I know that I've got 209 red pencils and Victor has 187 blue pencils. And I'm going to add those together to find the total. So I know that 9 plus 7 is 16. I'm going to carry the 1. 8 plus 1 is 9. 2 plus 1 is 3. So he has 396 pencils. Okay, so that's the first step. So the first step we're going to add. Now, to figure out how many pencils does Victor have left, so that's going to be step 2. To figure out how many he has left. Now, we know that left is an important word, okay? Left means that we are going to subtract. So that's the second operation that we're going to use in step 2. So we're going to take the total, 396, and I'm going to subtract 38. I cannot subtract 6 minus 8, so I have to go borrow from the 9. The 9 becomes an 8. The 6 becomes a 16. 16 minus 8 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. 3 minus nothing is 3. So, how many pencils does Victor have left? I'm going to say Victor has 358 pencils left. So we solved the problem and we want to make sure that our answer makes sense. And it does make sense because I know that he started with 396. And if he gives some away, that means my answer is going to be smaller than 396. So I know that Victor has 358 pencils left. Okay, so let's go look at number 2. Okay, let me get number 2 pulled up right here. Okay, so we're going to read as you're reading the word problem. As I'm reading it, I want you to visualize. I want you to get a picture in your head of what's going on. Okay, so Allison has 3 buckets of apples. 3 buckets. Each bucket has 8 apples inside. Okay, so I'm imagining these 3 buckets and each one has 8 inside of them. Chris has 28 apples. How many apples do Allison and Chris have all together? Okay, so how many? And I'm going to do that word all together. Okay. And if it helps, as you're visualizing, you could even draw. You could draw some buckets with apples in it, if that helps you as well. Okay, so what two questions is this word problem asking? First of all, there's an obvious question. I want to know how many apples Allison and Chris have all together. That's one question. But I already know how many Chris has, but before I can figure out the all together, how many they have all together, I have to figure out how many apples Allison has. Okay? So for step one, we want to figure out what Allison has. Okay, so let's step one. So Allison has 3 buckets of apples and each bucket has 8 apples. So I'm literally imagining here's 3 buckets. Okay, and they each have 8 apples. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and I know that that word each means that I'm going to multiply. All right, because I know this. So we're going to multiply 3 times 8, which is equal to 24. So I know now that Allison has 24 apples. Okay. It tells us that Chris has 28 apples. How many do Allison and Chris have together? So step 2. Okay, so step 1, I had to multiply to figure out how many apples Allison has. Step 2, that word altogether tells me I'm going to add. So I know Chris has 28 apples. And I know Allison has 24 apples. I'm going to take 28 and add 24 to it. And I know that 8 plus 4 is 12. Carry your 1. 2 plus 2 is 4. Plus 5. So all together, there is a total of 52 apples. Okay, the 2 of them together have 52 apples. Okay, let's go look at number 3. All right. Jason saved $120. Remember, I want you to visualize this word problem while I'm reading it to you. Kyle saved $78 more than Jason. How much money did Jason and Kyle save in all? So how much in all? All right, guys. So let's ask ourselves, what two questions is the word problem asking? Well, again, I have an obvious question that I know that they want to know how much Jason and Kyle saved in all. But before I can figure that out, I have to figure out how much Kyle saved. Okay? And it says Kyle saved 78 more than Jason. So step 1, if Kyle saved 78 more, I know that that word more tells me that I'm going to add. So I'm going to take how much money Jason saved. So Jason saved $120, and I'm going to add 78 to that. Okay, so this is 8. 7 plus 2 is 9. And then 1 plus nothing is 1. So Kyle saved $198. Okay? So if I know now that Kyle saved $198 and Jason saved $120, now I can figure out how much money they saved in all. Well, in all tells me I'm going to add. Okay, so I know Jason, he saved $120, and I know Kyle saved $198. So let's take those two numbers and let's go add them together to figure out how much they saved in all. 9 plus 2 is 11, carry your 1. So $318 in all. That's how much money they saved. All right, let's go do this last one together. Number 4. Okay. Monica, let's read and visualize. Monica has 4 packs of pencils. Each pack has 5 pencils inside. I'm going to write the number 5. If she shares the pencils equally with 10 friends, how many pencils will each friend receive? How many will each receive? Okay. All right, so we want to know how many pencils she will share. She's got 10 friends. We want to know how many pencils each friend will receive. That's one of the questions. But the other question we need to ask ourselves is, how many pencils does Monica start off with? Okay, I know that Monica has 4 packs of pencils. Let me get back to my pen. So step 1, she's got 4 packs of pencils. Each pack has 5 pencils inside. Okay, that word each tells me that I am going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 5, which is 20. So Monica has 20 pencils total. Now that we know how many pencils she has, we can do step 2. Now, if she's sharing these pencils equally with 10 friends, so that means she's dividing 20 pencils between 10 of her friends. So we are going to take those 20 pencils and divide it by 10. Well, you should know that 20 divided by 10 is 2. So we can say each friend will receive 2 pencils from Monica. So each friend will receive 2 pencils. All right, guys, good job.